Does Tyrese Haliburton's leg injury signal the end of Indy's title hopes, or is there a path to getting to Game 7? Kevin Durant's hopes of playing in New York are dashed. The Pacers make a trade during the finals, and it could mean everything to their ability to get back there next season. That's all today on Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On NBA. Thanks so much for making us your first listen of the day. We are free. We are available wherever you get your podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download that Game Time app today, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. I'm Doug Branson, host of Locked On Hornets, and your Shot Clock Sherpa, guiding you through the NBA's biggest stories with the help of Locked On's local experts. And I have two of the best with me, as always, from the Locked On Nuggets podcast. He's the senior NBA writer for the Action Network. It's Matt Moore. Matt?
Doug, I have good news. Since everybody is getting a promise in this NBA draft, apparently everyone has been promised a spot in the NBA draft. You too have a first round draft promise. No need. You can shut down those workouts, Doug. You've got a first round promise.
Oh, well, I hope it's from the Bulls. Speaking of the Bulls, from the Locked On Bulls podcast, we've got Hayes. What do you think, Hayes? Can I be one of the 9 or 10 very good players that can lead the Chicago Bulls to a championship?
The Niners, absolutely. I heard your jumper was smooth. So, yeah, we needed some three-point shooting. So go ahead and bring that to the team, Doug.
Thank you. I think the team should be required, if they're going to make a promise to a player, I think they should be required to give them a promise ring. And I want to see it on draft night. It should be suit and promise ring that we're focusing on. But we're going to start by focusing on the NBA Finals. Big story, Tyrese Haliburton has been dealing with a lower right leg injury all series long. We knew that. But now it's confirmed to be a calf strain after an MRI was done after Game 5. Here's Rylan Stiles of Locked On Thunder doing a crossover episode today with Locked On Pacers host Tony East. Rylan had a close look at Halleberton in Game 5, and this is how he feels like the injury affected him.
I just thought that he looked extremely uncomfortable and passive in a bad way. Obviously, you want Tyrese Haliburton, who's an excellent playmaker, to be passive, but he wasn't passing to advantages for his teammates. He was passing from his heels, really just looking to get off the ball. And this is a guy who, in my opinion, whenever he's had the most success this series, has been getting downhill. And that opens up both some tough rim finishes. You've seen him pull off some impressive reverse layups and conversions at the rim, but also opens up his passing lanes to find open shooters and to help the Pacers offense really get into a flow state. And in game number 5, he just couldn't do much of anything. And I think that it was because of his physical limitations, and it wasn't at all really due to his skill set. It's just, he's clearly playing hampered. And this is a storyline that's been brewing, since game 2, where he was limping off the podium.
The Locked On NBA crossover finals preview episode, something that really only this network can do. So definitely go check that out. You're going to learn a lot heading into Game 6. Matt, Halleberton is pushing to play in that Game 6, but if he can't go, do the Pacers have a path to getting this thing back to OKC for Game 7?
Yes. They're the Pacers. Look around you. Looking through this playoffs. Does anything make sense? How many times is it there's no way. I'd like to see the Pacers wiggle out of this one. Wiggles their way out. Nonetheless. Over and over and over again, they figure out a way. Pascal Siakam, Nembhard, Neesmith, TJ McConnell, Obi Toppin, someone will step up. I think it's more likely that if Halliburton's out, they somehow pull this off with an emotional do it for Hallie game. I could absolutely see that happening. Hayes, they are not sunk if he sits out this game. Are they probably sunk? Sure, because they're probably sunk anyway. That's why their dog's at home. But I don't think they're doomed if Halliburton has to sit.
I love the way that you worded that, sunk but not doomed. You want Halleberton out there, and of course he gives you the best option to win, but this is a team that has done it as a committee. They play full 48 minutes. They're very well coached. I think that they still have a chance. Now, am I going to say that they have the odds are in their favor? No. Now, if Tyrese Haliburton was 100% healthy at home in Indiana, I would honestly say the odds are probably in their favor in Game 6, regardless of how the last 2 games have went. But I think this is a team that's too tough, too well executed for you to completely count them out if Haliburton plays or not. But I also want to just, commend Haliburton for, he said, if I could walk, I'm going to play. And I love seeing that in players on this stage because it's not everybody always has that mindset.
you love seeing it, you love hearing it, but at the same time, would a hobbled Hallebertton actually harm the Pacers' ability to get that win in Game 6? I mean, should someone step in, whether it's Carlisle or someone, step in and convince Hallebertton, hey, sitting Game 6 actually makes it more possible you could come back for a Game 7 based on what we saw in Game 5?
No, because like you can rest and they might just go again in Game 7. And this is your season. You do not have, you cannot assume you're going to get to that Game 7. Like, this is your whole season. I think anybody who's played sports and has suffered a calf injury, like my very out of shape self is dealing with a calf injury right now. And I'm like, how are you possibly going to beat Lou Dort up the court with like a bad calf? How are you going to do that? But the reality is, like, these players are different. Like, they are built different. Emoji snorting. Like, they are different than other people, and they get better treatment. So like, there's ways I think for them to be able to impact things. I think he's going to be out there. If for no other reason than the confidence of Hallie is out there, we get a shot here. You don't know what you're going to get out of him. Like, I think this is the reality with these injuries. It's like, you don't know what you're going to get out of them. You just don't know until you get out there. So I think they got to do everything they can and plan for the best and hope that he can play.
Hayes.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Like, you want to roll with the dice with your guys. This is an elimination game. If maybe it was earlier in the series where we had a little bit of room there in case you did lose, but no, this is a winner go home scenario. It's the first elimination game we're having in this series. So I think you want to give Hallie a chance. Now, if you get to that game at a point and it looks like Hallie just is actively hurting you, sit him if that needs to be. But I think you give him a chance to come out in this game, show what he can bring, and go out there and try to attack the Thunder.
All right, check out that crossover episode today on both the Locked On Pacers feed and the Locked On Thunder feed. We will have more with a Game 6 preview on tomorrow's episode of Locked On NBA. But coming up, more teams say no to a Kevin Durant deal. What offseason moves have the potential to be even more impactful than a KD trade? I'll ask Matt and Hayes that ahead. And the Pacers make a trade in the middle of the finals. What does it signal about their plans for next season? That's all ahead on Locked On NBA. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by Game Time. There is nothing like the NBA Finals, the intensity, every possession mattering, the fans losing their minds. It's the kind of atmosphere you really have to experience live. And this year's finals are already delivering. If you want in, Game Time makes it fast and easy to get seats for playoff games, finals games, any game. Prices on the app actually drop closer to tip-off, and with killer last-minute deals, panoramic seat views, and no surprise fees, Game Time is a total game changer. The NFL season is approaching, and I'm already looking at my fall calendar, picking out which games I want to hit. You'll find great seats for as low as $100 thanks to exclusive discounts. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create that account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDONNBA, for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. More Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. We are one of the most listened to podcasts on the entire Locked On Podcast Network, and for that, we thank you. We're now on a mission to become the most watched show on the network. If you've been listening for a long time, please head over to youtube.com/@LockedOnNBA and give us a sub on YouTube. We didn't really get a chance to talk about this yesterday because it kind of flew under the radar a little bit, but the New York Knicks have reportedly taken themselves out of the KD sweepstakes despite being one of Durant's favorite destinations. Here's Locked On Suns processing the Knicks news and the shrinking market overall for the player that they have to trade.
That they just valued their centers too much because, I mean, I don't think that they are in love with Karl-Anthony Towns, but you just look around the league and if you only got Towns and Mitchell Robinson, you probably got to keep Towns and Mitchell Robinson. You can't switch one of those two guys up, even if they're not perfect, for another forward. I don't think it's any big sign of disrespect to KD personally. Like,
it's reasonably disrespectful. He is an all-time great. I think he's a top 10 player. I don't think you have him there, but I think he's otherworldly talented. I'm surprised by the Spurs. I think they could have won this competition fairly easily. KD's still a good defender, and you're not giving up much, but I get it.
Point
I
being,
think it's caught Kevin Durant by surprise, though.
the bullseye in the middle of this is a lot smaller than I think he expected it to be, and probably than the Suns did.
Hayes, did it surprise you that New York took themselves off the board, and do you think that decision fundamentally changed the market for a Kevin Durant trade?
I do want to make it noted before I answer that question. After I said I didn't want to talk about Kevin Durant anymore, we're now 5 straight days we're talking about Kevin Durant. No, but all jokes aside, I don't know if it hurt the market too much. I'm not surprised. The Knicks are a team that I think, with their coaching search, that they are trying to find a coach that can come in and find the right mix and balance between what they have without making some wholesale changes or giving up any more assets or things like that. I think the team that actually hurt Kevin Durant's trade market the worst was Miami Heat and his interest in going to the Miami Heat, because once you hear that, if I'm other teams and I'm looking at the draft capital and even the players that the Miami Heat have to offer, I'm not putting my best foot forward. I'm not putting a lot of crazy assets on the board for Kevin Durant at that point. I think that hurt it more than the Knicks being in or out of the trade market for Kevin Durant.
I'm shocked that the Knicks are not in on this. I think this is a mistake, honestly. You want to win a championship. You're setting the bar high. You traded 5 picks for Mikal Bridges. You're going for it. Karl-Anthony Towns was not the difference in you beating the Celtics or not. He was good. He was really good. He helped in that series. But he wasn't like the difference. You don't look at that and go, we don't win that series without Karl-Anthony Towns. You just don't. So that there's tension. The players after the season contributed to what I think is a hit piece on him about his defensive contributions. And maybe it was because we want him to buy in, et cetera. Okay, sure. But also Towns never asked to be there. He never asked to be in this position. And so there's this tension between him, and you want more usage and all these types of things. Why not just trade out Towns for Durant? Everybody wins here. The Suns get a star who's at center at the position they want, who Booker has a relationship with. The Knicks get off of the Towns problem. They still get to play small ball 5 with KD at the 5 if they want to. They can put KD at the 4 as a floor spacer and rim protector next to Mitchell Robinson. Everyone wins here. The worst case scenario is that he walks in free agency, you clear the money, and then you are 2 trades away of good players from being another free agent destination in 2026. Why? It doesn't make any sense to me. For as much as I'm critical of the Knicks always chasing stars, this time they don't want it. It's confusing to me.
And they already pre-fired their coach, so no concern even about KD coming and doing that. Hayes, what do you think? Did they sort of overthink this? Should they have just made the swap for Karl-Anthony Towns for Kevin Durant and move forward? Or are you more in the Suns camp or locked on Suns camp where you just think that the Knicks were valuing having both of those centers on the roster?
I think the Knicks do value that. I think there's a balance aspect to that. But I do, if it's a straight swap, if you can get Kevin Durant for Karl-Anthony Towns, I don't know how you can look at that and what you had last season and not at least consider it to where you explored a little bit further. But like I said, I think the Knicks are really content in just changing their coaches and hoping that a better coach brings better balance with what they already have. I don't know how successful they're going to be in that, but I can see where they're going. Karl-Anthony Towns is younger than Kevin Durant. You have more security there with Kevin Durant only having 1 year left on his deal before you got to pay him again long term. So I think there are other parts in that kind of factored into that as well.
Matt, if this situation drags out, would it shock you if the Knicks got back into this discussion, if they were not fully out?
No. That's my first thought here is how many times have we heard a team is out on this, and then whoop, that happens. We heard the Warriors and Jimmy Butler, this literally just happened. Yeah, the Warriors are not going to trade for Jimmy Butler. They're not going to do it. Yeah, they traded for Jimmy Butler. This is just how this goes. Maybe it's a manipulation. Maybe it's just if the Knicks take themselves out of it, they won't be used to leverage against. The market will bottom out, and then it's hey, would you like Karl-Anthony Towns or would you like Andrew Wiggins in the 2031st? And that's not a tough decision for them to sort out, I think.
Are we overrating the Kevin Durant move and its impact on the team he lands on? Are we in danger of doing that, Hayes?
Yeah, I think a little bit. I mean, that was my rant initially when I said I was tired of talking about Kevin Durant, is that it's and this isn't to judge Kevin Durant harshly or anything like that, but I mean, let's be real here. The last couple of stops that Kevin Durant has been on, how much have we looked at those teams as contenders? And it's not like the construction of those rosters were terrible. Like, I get it with the Nets. They were really good when all three of those players were on the court together. When Harden and Kyrie were able to be on the court together, they had some great numbers, and it looked like if they were ever going to be able to stay healthy, they were a team that could contend for a title. Suns, no. And even like Kevin Durant, the one time that he was able to actually go far and win a championship was with the team that already did so. And he's now almost a decade older than that. So I think when you look at the Kevin Durant thing, he can impact. It has to be a very particular team. I think the Houston Rockets, he's exactly what they need. But then again, I can see why they don't want to give up some of the youth that they have there. But I think we're going to look at this. The Kevin Durant trade is going to be a really solid move. They're probably going to go to at least the second round, but I don't know if he instantly makes any team just a surefire championship contender at this point.
He's going to be 37 in the fall, man. Like, this is just like a lot of basketball, and he's still elite. Like, that's the thing, is like, he's still so good. Hayes is correct that it's got to be the right fit, right? He can't be the guy. Yeah. And that's what they're playing with the Rockets, I think, is really kind of interesting, is like, is the defense the guy? Is that the idea? Is like the defense is the guy? But like, Alperen Şengün is not going to be better than Kevin Durant while Kevin Durant is there, or at least not to the very end. Amen Thompson might be, but that's going to take huge jumps from him. It's really tough to find the kind of team where it makes sense. This is why Minnesota makes so much sense, which is why I can't believe that KD is like, nope. Well, no, I understand why he doesn't want to play there. I get it from an off-court perspective. On-court, it just makes so much sense from a basketball standpoint.
I wonder how much of this, too, is like watching what LeBron James has been able to do at 40 years old, watching how effective Steph Curry still is at his age. Like, eventually someone's going to buy into one of these older superstars and in a big way and lose out. And I wonder if there's some reticence from teams in this situation not to be that team that does that thing.
That's fair.
So let's give Hayes his wish and move off this topic for now to sort of pivot into what, if this is an overrated move, what are the players or moves that would make a bigger difference to teams' title hopes than Kevin Durant? Hayes, do you have a player, or if not a player, a move like Team X needs Y? What kind of move do you think would make a more impact to a team's title hopes than acquiring Kevin Durant?
If the Orlando Magic can get one more above average 3-point shooter on their team, I think that puts them over the top. Yes, you added Desmond Bane. That's great. It's 41% career 3-point shooting is really good. They need another one. I think they need one more 3-point shooter. If that can be a 3-and-D player as well to continue what they like to do defensively, I think that takes them to that echelon, especially next year with a weaker Boston team that they're going to be contending in the Eastern Conference to make it to the finals.
Cavaliers reshaping their roster with a deeper bench, shifting that to add more big wing defenders. I just thought of this. Doesn't Jared Allen for KD make a little bit of sense if you threw in some other stuff? Just like a little bit? Just like a little bit?
What's Jared Allen's contract? That actually makes a lot of sense.
I don't know what the numbers are. You'd have to make it work with the contracts, but it's kind of interesting, right? This is like not a title contender, but as far as like moving the needle in the league, I'm not trying to again, I think KD is elite and he's like so important in terms of what you're getting every night production wise. But like, I think I look at a team like Atlanta and I'm just like, they got so many opportunities here. Jalen Johnson's so good. Dyson Daniels is so good. Trae Young is Trae Young. Like, you have a lot of opportunity to be able to make huge jumps there. I think that's a like really interesting one. The big one though, Doug, is just look, if the Lakers add another 3-point shooter who can defend and a center who can rim run, we are all overlooking this. Like, we are cutting way too quickly past the Lakers thing. They've got Luka Doncic and LeBron James. If they add a rim running center who can switch and another defender, that's a bigger move than anything that KD's going to bring.
The Jared Allen contract is for the next 3 years, 28, then 30, then 32. So I think you'd have to do a little bit more there if you're Cleveland. And then if you're Cleveland, are you running into the same situation that Minnesota is running into right now, which is we have the center that Phoenix wants. We don't necessarily have the location that Kevin Durant wants. Now, we don't know if he's totally out on Cleveland, but he wasn't one of the teams, listed in that preferential list.
Yeah, I mean, it sure seems like he just wants a coastal team. It just sure seems like he wants to be on one of the coasts, which is why, like, I don't know, I just keep looking back at the Clippers and being like, is there something there? Is there something there? Like, my dream scenario is that they do trade Zoo. And the reason is just because I think it'd be really funny to trade a player who is all NBA caliber, giving Phoenix like the asset that they're looking for, just to put KD back with Harden again next to Kawhi Leonard, who's never available. It would just be like, I want good things for the Clippers, but it would be really funny if they did that move.
All right, coming up, the Pacers actually made a trade, and it was in the middle of the NBA Finals, giving up their draft pick this year for their draft pick next year? We'll explain. Plus, why is everyone hating on the Memphis Grizzlies all of a sudden? That's ahead on Locked On NBA. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by Olipop. Olipop is a new kind of soda. It's made for people who love the classic taste of soda, but they want something that actually supports their health. With just 2 to 5 grams of sugar. That's insane. Every time I say it, that's insane. 2 to 5. It's insane because I've tasted it. With just 2 to 5 grams of sugar and 9 grams of prebiotic fiber in every can, Olipop is reimagining soda in a way that's better for your gut. Traditional sodas loaded with sugar. 39 grams in a regular Coke, 44 grams in an orange Fanta. That's incredible. Olipop flips that script entirely with just a fraction of the sugar, no artificial sweeteners, gut-friendly ingredients like OliSmart, a blend shown to support digestive and overall health. It's soda that tastes like the real thing, but actually does something good for your body. I can have a soda at lunch. I like the vintage cola because I go all in on the cola. I want the cola taste. It's got the cola taste, but with a fraction of the sugar. And instead of feeling guilty, I feel great about getting a third of my daily fiber. Get a free can of Olipop today. Just buy any 2 cans in store and they'll reimburse you for 1 can. Head to drinkolipop.com/LockedOnNBA to claim your free can and find Olipop near you. That's drinkolipop.com/LockedOnNBA. More Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. The Indiana Pacers season, it's still alive, but that hasn't stopped them from starting their offseason. Yesterday, Indiana traded their number 23 pick in this year's draft and the rights to Mojave King to the New Orleans Pelicans for Indiana's own 2026 first-round pick, which the Pelicans had previously acquired. Why would they do such a thing? Here's Tony East with more.
This is what I think their main motivation of this trade is the Stepien rule. Because now that they have all their picks, they can trade 2026, 2028, 2030, and 2032. They can trade all 4 of those first-round picks and swaps in the rest of the years in a trade. Or they could trade 27, 29, 31, or whatever combo they want. Whereas previously they were very limited. Not very, but they were somewhat limited in the years that they could package picks together. Now, by getting their pick back, they have Mathurin. He's a 6th man right now. Jarris Walker plays sometimes. Ben Shepherd plays every game. Johnny Furphy's not playing at all. They have young players already not playing. What are they going to do with the 23rd pick?
All right, Matt, here you go. This is your chance to once again call for the banning of the Stepien rule. The Pacers, they step around it with this trade. Does the trading of this year's pick signal that they are all in on the current core? Or, Matt, do the future trade implications signal that they could reconfigure things after a potential finals loss?
This is about the money. It's about the money. Miles Turner is going to make 30 to 35 million per year coming up on his extension this summer. And I think that 35 number is enough to get him. Maybe he comes back for less. Maybe he takes a discount, right? But I think 35 probably gets him home. There might be a team in the market that's like, screw it, 40 million. And that gets really tough. You need to be prepared to clear the cap space for you to do that. Instead of this being about the Pacers loading up, I think this is more about having the powder, so to speak, to be able to retain the core that you have. And you can be like, well, Miles Turner hasn't been good in the finals. Yeah, but he was really great in the Knicks series, and he was really great in the Cavs series. Like, you need that guy. So they're going to need to be able to have the ability to clear the space necessary to retain the guys they want to retain. It makes it easier to do so if you have your first round picks to grease the wheels. That's the important thing for me here. Now, does it mean that they can, if a deal comes available, if they get the opportunity to trade for a megastar? Sure, if they want to take that route. If a really great player comes available, you want the option on the table. So this is like a simple piece of business for both teams to be able to do this. I think that's like really smart by both sides. It's just good management. But I also think that this is mostly related to Miles Turner and them being able to be liquid this summer so that they can move the money how they need to under the current CBA.
Yeah, I think it's just smart business. Matt hit the nail on the head there. It's both teams looking at their assets and where they stand and just making a smart business so that's mutually beneficial to both teams. I think the Pacers do want to keep their core and what they have for. They've been on a very special playoff run. I don't see why you would want to move off that unless you have to. So this increases their ability to do that while just gaining flexibility with more assets down the road too. If they need to do that, it just puts them in a better situation to take a year to kind of really review what they have. And then if they need to make moves down the road, they can do that too. So I think this sets them up good for now and retaining Miles Turner and keeping their team, their core together. But then if next year they do find out, hey, this was just a Cinderella season, they fall off a cliff, they have now flexibility to make some other moves and to change the direction a little bit there as well going forward.
I do think it would be really entertaining if the Indiana Pacers, after investing in their core for year after year after year and finally getting to the finals, if they lose, and then they come back and say, actually, now we're going to spend 4 picks and somehow get Giannis Antetokounmpo on the Indiana Pacers. Like, that would be entertaining, I think. So we'll see what happens. Let us know what you think on YouTube, youtube.com/@LockedOnNBA. Finally, the Desmond Bane to Orlando trade has opened some old wounds in Memphis. At a media availability, Desmond Bane said this in reference to Orlando's training facilities. Quote, "This facility is different, bro. The one in Memphis, we ain't have not one window. We joked around and called it the dungeon. This is a breath of fresh air," unquote. A not-so-veiled shot at Memphis, Stephen A. Smith took the airwaves on First Take with his own theories about why players don't want to play in Memphis. Here's Locked On Grizzlies with more.
John Morant responded to a clip that Stephen A. posted or had said on ESPN, talking about how one of the reasons that people don't want to come to Memphis that are NBA players, and he kind of insinuated Jimmy Butler is one of his sources here.
Yeah.
Didn't say directly, but kind of hinted. One of the reasons is Memphis is an unsafe city.
That is such a strong thing to say about a city that, quite frankly, I've been covering the Grizzlies for 4 years, that I've seen you at one time in the 4 years since I've been covering this team. That is a very strong thing for him to say about the city of Memphis. There are people who don't want to play in Memphis. That is true. There are people. Allen Iverson, that's an example. Didn't want to play here. Andre Iguodala didn't want to play with the Grizzlies. But guess what? Do you remember when Kevin Durant didn't want to play with the New York Knicks? I don't see you talking about the New York Knicks like that. Kevin Durant didn't want to go play there. Do we have to go down the long list of players who didn't want to play for the Los Angeles Lakers before LeBron James signed there?
I put all of this in a wheelbarrow and I wheel it over to Matt Moore and ask, is everything all right in Memphis? And if it isn't, how bad of a situation does Zach Kleiman have on his hands? They fired Taylor Jenkins. There's questions about Ja's future. Ja trying to quell those, but there's still going to be questions about both he and Triple J. And now you have all of this. What's going on in Memphis?
I mean, an unfair characterization from someone whose job it is to make unfair characterizations when he's not playing solitaire. I'm not from Memphis. Okay. I've been there a lot for a number of reasons. And like any city, yeah, there are parts of the city that you're going to be like, oh, I should go now. And that's just part of how that goes. Like most of the cities I've been in, Denver's got parts like that. That's just part of it. And it's unfortunate we've got those parts of America based off of a number of issues I could go off on that I'm not going to. But what I will say is just like Memphis is fine. I don't know why there's like so much heat on this situation. And I think that DeMichael put it really perfectly about like, yeah, there's players that don't want to play in any sort of city. Like Kevin Durant doesn't want to play in Minnesota. That's what Shams Charania reported. He's got no interest in playing in Minnesota. Is Minnesota some sort of war zone? What are we talking about here? These characterizations, I think, are unfair. We need to keep that part out of it unless they come from a player directly. If a player wants to relate these things directly as to why they don't want to play there, then we can talk about them. But this being a talking point is just an unfair characterization of a city that gets way too many unfair characterizations.
As somebody who was from Chicago, Illinois, that gets a lot of unfair characterizations. I feel like this is something that is very dangerous rhetoric to have about a city, especially if you do not hear a player say that directly, if they did not say that publicly, because you can very easily, like, yeah, every city has its dangerous parts and things like that. How many players are really in that? And so I don't know if that has anything to do with people not wanting to play in Memphis, and to say that seems a little bit irresponsible in my personal opinion. And again, that's just my view. And that's being from Chicago, a city that gets a lot of unjust things thrown at it, some just as well. I take a little bit of issue with that. I think Memphis is a great city. I've been in Memphis a number of times, and it's an amazing city, and the people there are amazing as well. I think that they have more of an issue that they need to look at in the direction of their franchise as why players may not want to play there than trying to blame the city. And I think that was really irresponsible by Stephen A. Smith, to be frank.
Yeah, speak to that, Matt, the issues that are going on within the franchise, because you do have Desmond Bane saying, look, the facilities here in Orlando are better. You've had some criticisms of that in the past. What do they need to do anything, or do they need to be more careful before they relinquish talent like Desmond Bane for fear that they might not be able to get that talent back?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's the practice facility is always going to be a concern. Now, somebody posted photos, and it's like, it's a really nice practice facility, like most practice facilities are. I wouldn't know, since the Denver Nuggets won't pay for one, but the rest of them seem very, very nice. It just doesn't have any windows, right? But like, this is the kind of thing that players really care about. If you want to be active in acquiring talent, you have to provide best in the world facilities. And you can roll your eyes at that. And I kind of want to be like, it's okay. Like, come on. Or it's like complaining about the travel. You're staying at the Ritz-Carlton, guys. It's fine. Like, you're okay. This isn't a Higgins boat on Omaha Beach. Like, you're fine. But it does matter to the players, regardless of how anyone feels about it. Like, that it does matter to them. You have to provide an environment that players are like, I love it. Like, the OKC facility is beautiful. The Cavs facility is beautiful. They have these really nice facilities that are what the players want. And I do think that matters for attracting talent.
Attracting talent, yeah. I think developing talent too, right, Hayes? I mean, if you want your players to develop the way you want them to and have control over that process, you need them in your facilities, right?
Yeah, having a state-of-art facility, I think, goes a long way, and I think that's going to be something that I don't know how much is going to get talked about, but that could be the next kind of wave is how these franchises invest in their facilities. Because if you create a place where players can get everything they need right there in the same facility that they practice at and everything else with the team, like, that's an added benefit. You want players to stay in your building, and that doesn't go down to just like the equipment in the facilities, but the trainers that you have there, the development staff that you have there, all that type of stuff. I think that's an important part when a player feels like they can get everything they need with the franchise, and they don't have to spend their summers, for example, going this place to work with this coach, going that place to work with this coach, where they can get all that internally. I think that's a really important part of development and attracting talent.
Well, I promise you one thing. We are going to invest more in our training staff. We're going to make sure Matt Moore avoids any more calf injuries. We want him on the court, on the podcast, on the microphone, delivering that analysis every day. We all are. We're getting older. Time doesn't stop. All right, if you like what you heard today, subscribe to Locked On NBA wherever you get podcasts, including YouTube. Thanks to Matt and Hayes for their expertise every day. Thank you for making Locked On NBA your first listen. For your second listen, make sure you're checking out the Locked On NBA Big Board Show. NBA draft expert Rafael Barlow reacts to every workout, interview, and rumor leading up to the NBA draft. We are 1 week away, folks. Find Locked On NBA Big Board on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Be kind to each other. We're going to see you right back here tomorrow for a Game 6 preview on Locked On NBA.